Hello, everyone, and thank you for participating in the Lytham Partners Spring 2022 Investor Conference. My name is Joe Diaz. I'm a managing partner at Lytham Partners. For this presentation, we welcome Biotricity, which trades on the NASDAQ exchange under the ticker symbol of BTCY. Representing Biotricity today is Waqaas Alsiddiq, Founder, Chairman, and Chief Executive Officer of the company. Waqaas will briefly run us through a slide presentation, and we'll engage in a brief fireside Q&A session afterwards. Before we begin, for those not familiar, Lytham Partners is one of the country's leading investor relations firms with more than 2 decades of corporate access experience. We've built one of the industry's most diverse and effective platforms for connecting small cap companies with high quality focused institutional investors and creating all of the best practices in all aspects of investor relations. One final item before we begin, I want to remind everyone that Biotricity is available for one-on-one meetings later this week. If you have not already signed up, please visit the Lytham Partners website at www.lythampartners.com/virtual and click the one-on-one meeting request button. With that said, let me turn the proceedings over to Waqaas Alsiddiq, President and Chief Executive Officer of Biotricity. Waqaas, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you everybody for joining us today. To get started, just a standard thing with public companies, as you, I'm sure all of you are aware. There's some of the information that we will be covering in the slide and the discussion during the Q&A is really about the future of the company and what we expect in terms of our ideas and our vision for the company, and some of our actual results may differ. You know, before I get started, I always try to talk about the company and the inception and where we, got the idea from and what really precipitated the creation of Biotricity. And so in Biotricity, we saw that in healthcare primarily, that the bulk of technology was really passive monitoring. And so when we talk about monitoring, it's a misused term. It's not real-time active monitoring. It's usually passive recording, meaning you're collecting data off of a patient, you send them home, you bring them back, you download the data, and 2 weeks later you get a report. And that's really not the future. And we really felt the future of healthcare was about delivering care to individuals in the comfort of their home, being able to have that data available in real time so that you can take actionable events. And so, because we saw that gap, we built a platform and we applied that in the cardiac space, because cardiac disease is the #1 killer in every country in the world. And it's a gap in the marketplace where all of the care solutions are disjointed and not connected. And so we started that, and our real focus is really about improving the quality of care and saving lives with a revolutionary product portfolio and business model, which is targeting the multi-billion-dollar TAM for the cardiac space, which I'll go into later in our presentation. Today, we have our flagship cardiac solution, which is FDA cleared and is operating across 25 states with 1,500 cardiologists that use that product every single day to diagnose patients. What's unique about the product, outside of the fact that from a technological perspective, we made a solution that is faster, more accurate, smaller, and the workflow is much simpler. But we layered that with a very unique business model, which is creating a technology as a service. And technology as a service in the healthcare space, meaning we are not providing clinical services, we are enabling providers to use our technology to provide that service to their patients. And so that creates really a partnership with the provider and the doctor. And so because all of our technology and everything that we do at Biotricity is insurance reimbursable, it creates a revenue stream and an area of growth for the practice or the provider, while creating a technology as a service model for us. And that has really facilitated triple-digit growth for us year over year throughout the pandemic. We now are very excited about 2022 because we have a product portfolio which is coming out, and that's already been built and FDA cleared. It's in pilot sites today, and really it's designed to go deeper into the existing customers. So sell within our existing ecosystem of cardiologists across 25 states, and then continue to go from 25 states to 50 states. We recently received an FDA clearance on one of those products, which I'll go into later in the presentation, about 6 weeks ago. And so really, when we talk about 2022, we've got this product portfolio, which is going to come around. It's going to create new revenue streams for the company, all insurance-based. And we also capitalize the company really well in 2021 to make sure that we have the capital to support our growth initiatives. And so, if you talk about what has happened in the last 6 months for the company, it's really been a transformation in terms of multiple products, increasing our total addressable market from $1 billion to $35 billion, and capitalizing the company to execute on its growth plans. Taking a step back, we talk about cardiac. I introduced it a little bit, but why are we really looking at the cardiac space? Because the cardiac disease, we hear a lot about cancer, we hear a lot about heart, but heart is still the #1 killer in the United States and in every country in the world. And it's a silent killer because most people are asymptomatic, and the issues are intermittent. And so what happens is that physicians really need to actively monitor, because if the patient is asymptomatic and so they don't know what's going on with them, and the issue is intermittent, it's very complex to catch, which means you need long-term data. Well, as soon as you put long-term data on a high-risk patient, you're risking that they actually have a stroke or a heart attack while you're trying to monitor them. And so that's why active monitoring and a fully integrated system is really required. And moreover, because cardiac disease is a lifelong journey, you really want to track the patient across, as opposed to dealing with 5-6 different service providers with 5-6 different technologies, and then trying to connect and correlate the data. And this issue of cardiac care and this idea of different vendors and this idea of passive recording is a challenge for sure, but it's also going through a transformation in the sense that we have seen through the pandemic that people are really focused on getting into using healthcare in the comfort of their home. And so this, outside of the fact that there's a need, this market is exploding. It's going from a $23 billion market to a $117 billion market, which this shift into remote monitoring, which is aligned with why we started Biotricity in the beginning, which was to say that, hey, the future is really about real-time monitoring. And so, when we talk about how do our technologies map, we're talking a lot about the market now, we're talking a lot about the opportunity, what is actually happening with this patient and how do we touch? So, the cardiac patient journey is really about a lifelong journey of managing your cardiac condition. And it begins with getting a diagnosis done. And that's where we have been living. We've been living in this first ring with the BioFlux product up until 6 months ago. That was our core product. We had one solution, and it was for high-end diagnostics. So you put the device on a patient, you send them home. If the device is a smart device, if it detects any anomaly, it's got cellular technology built in, it transmits it to a call center. You can deal with emergency response. And if there's no emergency, the device is brought back, and you make a treatment decision, and the physician or the provider bills insurance, they collect their reimbursement, and then they pay Biotricity our technology fee. And then once that patient gets diagnosed, they either get a prescription or they get an interventional procedure, and then they go into management and follow-up, right? And then anytime there's a change, or once a year, the doctor wants to do a checkup, they go back to diagnostics. And so in the last 6 months, and actually over the last 18 months, we've been developing a lot of technology. In the last 6 months, we've finished the development and started rolling this stuff out. And what we've done is, if you see, we've really got a set of product suites that are designed to touch the patient depending on what ring they're in, right? So before it was only diagnostics, now we can facilitate prescriptions, we can facilitate continuous management, we can facilitate follow-up. So that's really a transformation. Now, what's unique about each of those technologies and each of those solutions, it still comes from our core product. So this is all complementary, right? It's all downstream. Once you diagnose the patient, what happens? You go into management. And so every technology that we have really is driven from our core competency, our core product, and it's all designed in the same model, right? Which is this outsourced business model, which enables a partnership with physicians and providers so that they can bill insurance, and we have a technology as a service model. So everything has the same framework, right? Every product that we talk about, and I'll go into that later. So if you look at this slide, we were living in the first product area, which is the BioFlux, and the reimbursement there is $850, and that's high revenue, or high reimbursement, but low volume, right? Very, very small percentage of patients need real-time monitoring. And so, but once they've been diagnosed and monitored, they go into chronic care management. And then if they're unstable, they go into lifestyle management. If they have multiple comorbidities, they have remote patient monitoring plus chronic care management. So if you've got a cardiac patient with hypertension, and then for dealing with remote visits and prescription fulfillment, you have remote specialty care. And if they are doing a yearly checkup and they don't need real-time monitoring and they're stable, you can use a Holter product, which is a passive monitor, as opposed to the real-time monitor for Bioflux. Now, each of these areas have different reimbursement codes, but they're established codes. And each of them, you see a trend, their technology is a service model. So with Bioflux, you prescribe it to the patient, you bill insurance, doctor, provider collects the money, pays Biotricity technology fee. The same thing with chronic care management. You prescribe chronic care management to a patient, you bill insurance, you collect that reimbursement, you pay Biotricity technology fee. So everything is a recurring revenue and profit center for the provider, and a technology as a service play for Biotricity. And so this creates a growth for the practice and the provider while providing much better care. And so whereas, the Bioflux is a high reimbursement, low volume product, the Biocare is a low reimbursement but high volume product. So that's the differentiator. So as we moved down in the stream, we have more patients, more volume, but the reimbursement is much lower. And so to kind of map that out in terms of a total addressable market, I talked about this earlier in the presentation, where we went from $1 billion TAM to a $35 billion TAM. We did that by creating these product portfolios, right? So the BioTray product, which is that Holter product I was talking about. So Bioflux reimbursement is $850. BioTray, the reimbursement is $200, but it's a much bigger total addressable market. It's a $5 billion total addressable market. Then you've got Biocare chronic care management. That's a $24 billion disease management market. It's $50 a month, but it's $50 a month per patient while they're in the disease management program, and that's generally for many, many years. Then you have lifestyle management for unstable patients. That's another $5 billion TAM. So every product portfolio that we have is increasing our total addressable market, but it's all cardiac focused. It's all complementary to Bioflux, and it all sells within the existing market. So that's what is very exciting about our 2022 year. And to kind of talk about what is Bioflux, I sort of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but to really get into it, Bioflux is a complete clinical diagnostic solution. This is the beginning of our entry point into cardiac. It's what built our ecosystem, and it's what all of the other products are complementary with. And so the Bioflux, it's a device. It's got 3 contact points, size of a small Apple mouse. You hang it around your neck, and you have contact points. And it's a smart device. It's recording your ECG and is looking for any arrhythmia. So it's a solution. It connects to the cloud. And anytime it detects an anomaly, it transmits it to the call center. And so we have so many examples of, a patient sleeping at 3 o'clock in the morning and being woken up and taken to the hospital for emergency surgery. And, if the Bioflux was not there, that event wouldn't have been triggered. It wouldn't have gone to a call center, and that patient probably would have woken up having a heart attack as opposed to being woken up before the heart attack occurred. And so, we're saving lives every day because the device is a smart device and it's actively monitoring the patient. And so to kind of, summarize, as I was talking about earlier about the Bioflux, we've really taken this disruptive technology, which is this cheaper, more effective, better form factor, more accurate device, and marry that with the disruptive business model, which creates an in-source business model, enabling providers to bill and creating a revenue stream and growth there, while creating a recurring revenue technology as a service model for us. And so that product, we launched the Bioflux in April of 2019. We got our clearance in early 2018, we figured out reimbursement. So April of 2019, we launched it, and the pandemic was in 2020. And we've gone from, no footprint to being operating in 25 states, 1,500 cardiologists, over 300 centers that use our product. And what I was talking about, which is exciting about 2022 for us, is how do we go from to continue to do what we're doing in 25 states, but to go and get closer to 50 states, because that's of course our goal, but also to take our product portfolio and sell within these existing existing clinics so that we go deeper. So, that combination of horizontal and vertical growth is really happening in 2022. The other products that we talk about, future products, which are going to be coming out this year, the BioTray product, which is launching in April. And we've already got pre-orders from our existing customers to purchase this product. This got FDA clearance about 6 weeks ago. And this really changes the market landscape for Holter monitoring. So Holter monitoring is a passive recorder. So this is for low risk patients because it will not communicate. And you put the device on, it's a patch, you send the patient home, they peel it off, they mail it back after the study's over. And then 2 weeks after the day you drop it in the mailbox, you get a report. So that's a lot of uncertainty for a cardiac patient, right? Or somebody that's, going to a cardiologist saying, hey, you may have something. You took a week-long test and it's 3 weeks before you know what's going on. BioTray solves this. It cuts that time from 2 weeks to 3 to 5 days. And it does that because it's a connected Holter monitor. So it transmits the data the moment the study is done so that you can have a reimbursement very quickly and a report real quickly so you can speed up the diagnostic. Then we have the Biokit, which I talked about, this is really designed for cardiac patients that have comorbidity. So they have hypertension, they may have COPD. So they need other devices to collect other data metrics or other biometrics, which is again, all reimbursable with insurance and aligned with our technology as a service model. Then we have our lifestyle management product. Same thing, insurance reimbursable. And this is really around personal disease management for patients that are not stable. So they went through diagnostics, they had a procedure, they had a medication, but they're just not stable. And so the patient, is having difficulty. The doctor is trying multiple different things to get the range and the heart in the right range, and they're adjusting medications and whatnot. And so they want longer term data. And so the BioHeart is designed to collect long-term data on the patient. And so to kind of summarize, we're going from a 1-product company to a 6 product solution company. Everything that we talked about in this presentation has already been built. It's being piloted. So these are not like concepts that I'm saying, hey, we just raised a bunch of capital, we got to go build this. No, we've raised capital to execute on our roadmap. The roadmap has already been built. It's already piloting. They're all designed to be insourced, creating revenue streams for our customers while creating a technology as a service fee for us. So we're really collapsing these solutions into one ecosystem. And so to kind of give that example as a doctor-friendly or provider partnership model, every product, as you see, is creating a revenue stream. So if you think about our BioFlux product, why did it work so well? Is it was creating a 6-figure income for a doctor, and some income for us, and it's a recurring revenue as you have these patients continuously going on, right? You put the device on patient A, they come back, you clean it up, you put it onto patient B. And the same thing with each of these products. As you'll see, each of these products are designed on the patient flow that a cardiologist has, and each of them create revenue streams for that physician. And so really, when you look at our ecosystem and how we're doing it versus how the clinic or the ecosystem is today, is that nurses and practitioners from a workflow perspective are using 5 different vendors, because they'll use the BioFlux for diagnostics today, but they're using somebody else for remote patient monitoring, using somebody else for chronic care management, using somebody else for personal lifestyle management. And so we take all that, collapse it into one portfolio, one platform. So it's much easier for them to use, as well as better able to track the patient. And, we talked a lot about the company, where we're going, our opportunity and the value. And, people always say, okay, what's your end goal? What are you trying to be? And so I really like to look at a company called Livongo as a comparable to what we're trying to accomplish, because some people think of us as, a competitor in the diagnostic space. So each of our products have competitors, but our platform is unique. And so what Livongo did for diabetes is what we're trying to do for cardiac care, because they built a platform. They got a glucometer, they built a platform for disease management, and then they were acquired for $18 billion with 228,000 when they had 228,000 patients. And so our 1,500 cardiologists right now service 3 million patient lives. How many of them are applicable to this disease management and long-term ecosystem play? About 500,000. Now, it'll take time to sign them up. That's part of our growth strategy and bringing those patients into the fold. But the ecosystem is already there now. It's about tapping into that ecosystem and bringing everybody into that environment. And when we talk about all these plans, a lot of it stems from how are you going to accomplish that, and part of that is about the team. And so we think of Biotricity as three divisions that work together symbiotically to really make things happen here. And we've got people from the sales that have 150 years experience, multiple startups, have launched new cardiac products from beginning all the way to growth and exit. Same thing on the operations, same thing on management. So we really try to find people that are not just, haven't just done it once, but they've done it multiple times and gone through multiple exits. And with that, I'll turn it over to questions.
All right, well, Waqaas, thank you so much for that good overview. Let's talk about a few things here. With regard to the business, I mean, you've got a disruptive business model, great technology coming on board here. From your perspective, from an operational standpoint, what do you see as the major risks that could impede your growth going forward? What are you worried about?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a great question. Every business has risks. And I think one of the unique things about us, and I think the opportunity for Biotricity, is that we really de-risked the company in the last 6 months, right? 6 months ago, you're saying, hey, okay, Waqaas, you have all this technology, you've been building it. How are you gonna launch it, right? Where's your capital to launch it? Or you've got all this technology, but you're still waiting for FDA clearances. How are you don't actually have those products yet. Have you tested them and whatnot? So we have reduced product risk because the product portfolio is all built now. We've reduced capital risk for execution on our growth plans. Now, there are still risks for me. I always, we talk about the great resignation, whatever. We don't really have a resignation problem where all of our employees are very happy, but we're growing. So we need to hire more people. And they talk about the hiring issues in the United States and actually globally. But hiring for us was always a challenge because when you're a fast-paced company, you want to find like-minded individuals. So, going from, and I don't think that's a 2022 problem, but certainly that's a 2023, 2024 problem, because as you continuously grow, you're going from the same talent pool, right? That you're trying to recruit from. And, it's much easier to hire 5 top sales reps than it is to hire 50 top sales reps, so it's a process. And so, when I talk about risks, our core product, growing that product, what we're doing this year and establishing these new products, I'm very confident about 2022. And I think there's a great opportunity because we have taken the risks out of our 2022 and probably half a 2023 plan. And then, going into 2023 and what are my risks to my business is, human resources are going to continuously be an area that we have to focus on, and we have to recruit early and we have to scale early. And hiring the right kind of people. And so I think that is an area of risk. The other area of risk that I'm always evaluating is as you grow and you grow fast, you have to scale all your departments, right? So you have to align the scaling. And in fact, you have to scale early. And so that's, an area of risk. It's an area that we manage. It's called managed risk, right? But every business has risks. And I think at Biotricity, we do a good job of managing those risks.
Again, you have a disruptive business model to the extent that you work with the cardiologists, and I wouldn't call them partners, but they're absolutely very much involved. How do you work with that group of people, and what is their reaction to the Biotricity business model when you chat with them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think that is one thing that people have really missed, when it comes to our story. I mean, when you take a look at our worst case scenario, it's taking the last quarter and multiplying it by 5, right? We have incredible stickiness. We have 100% reorder rate. We have very high retention rate. And the reason is because we've simplified the workflow, right? It's not just about creating a revenue stream and creating a technology play that is better. It's about simplifying the workflow. Because prescribing a patient, then sending them somewhere else to get a test done, you still have to coordinate all that. There's a whole coordination that you have to do. And so we take that coordination away because now you can just hook up the patient and send them home. And so, what I say is, to answer your question in a different way is saying, what is the response? The response has been that we've done triple-digit growth over the last 2 years. We went from hardly, being in one state to 25 states, and this and we've maintained those customers, and that's the main thing, right? And I think that stickiness and that retention rate is only going to get better as we go deeper into the ecosystem with the rest of our product portfolio.
You spoke of it earlier in terms of your competitive strength versus your other peers in the business. What really sets Biotricity apart from the other competitors that you have out there?
Again, a great question. So I would break that up into different things. I talked earlier about how we have 6 different products, but each of those products have its own set of competitors, right? So what we try to do is we want to be best in class with every product that we build, right? So the BioFlux is the best in class in the MCOT space, right? So we compete, and we have to compete head to head with everybody in each space, right? For the product portfolio. I talked about the Holter, and I talked about how it revolutionizes it, right? It takes it from a 2-week diagnostic time to a 3-day diagnostic time, which is a game changer. So again, we are competing with a different set of competitors in that product. So it begins with making best-in-class technology in the best-in-class solution and being the best in that area, right? And then what makes us really different is that we have the entire ecosystem. So now and nobody has that, right? When you go to a company like, an iRhythm or a Bardy, which does very well in the Holter space, and they're much bigger than us, we have a better Holter product, and we compete on the Holter product side, but on the ecosystem side, they don't have an MCOT, right? We have the MCOT, the MCT product, the BioFlux also. We also have disease management. We have the whole portfolio. So not only are we trying to be the best in that specific category, we've built an ecosystem platform now that we're going to collapse and track the patient through the entire care journey, which makes for better care delivery and less risk for the physician, less liability, and better for the patient.
Well, this is a really exciting story, Waqaas. You have great things ahead of you. Thank you for spending some of your time and really providing us a great outlook on the company, a great overview. Thank you much. We greatly appreciate it. To all of you out there that have not already signed up for a one-on-one with Waqaas, please feel free to visit the Lytham Partners website at lythampartners.com/virtual, and we will arrange a meeting for you. With that, we hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you and have a great day.